Welcome to the Digital Production Buzz at the 2015 NAB show. Hi, this is Larry Jordan, and this interview was recorded live on the trade show floor. For more information, visit digitalproductionbuzz.com. When it comes to making bold decisions, there's nothing bolder than a bet the ranch decision, which is exactly what the co-founder of CrumplePop needed to do when Final Cut 10 was released. They could ignore it, they could embrace it, or they could develop for it exclusively. And Gabe Cheifetz, the co-founder of CrumplePop, decided that they were going to bet the ranch on one application, which is Final Cut 10. Gabe, welcome. I want to find out more about this decision of yours and how it turned out.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
So 3 years ago, 3.5 years now, almost 4, Apple announces Final Cut 10. You've been a developer of Final Cut 6 and Final Cut 7 plugins for a while. You're not the world's largest company.
That's true.
That has got to have been a nerve-wracking decision.
Well, we didn't know exactly what was going to happen when Final Cut 10 came out, and there were all sorts of rumors. But when it did, we were very excited to see that they had opened up kind of a new framework for developing plugins that made it easy for small developers like us to jump on board and develop actually really good stuff that was useful. And we, because of our experience in Final Cut 6 and 7, we did that right away. And because of that, we shipped, I don't know how many products in the first year after Final Cut 10 launched. And
how many products, meaning so many or so few?
Oh, so many. It was because of the development tools specifically designed for plugins that Apple had also released with Final Cut 10 through the Motion app. It was 5 or more probably. Pretty significant plugins that we did in the first year. We were kind of first out of the gate with that, and there were some tricks to it, but it really was a great system. And since then, there's been a wonderful ecosystem, we can call it, that has emerged.
One could also call it immense competition at the same time.
That's true. And it's, the positive way to say it would be that I think we maybe paved the way or helped people see a model for doing this. And so there's a fair number of small developers now that do the same thing, sometimes exactly the same thing as we do. But that is one of the real strengths of the platform, is that there is this kind of thriving little ecosystem.
Do you ever regret just being exclusively on Final Cut 10?
That is a good segue into within the last year we've started branching out a little bit, because there's, just to be honest, there's multiple players in the mix now. For a long time it was Final Cut, in the Final Cut 7 heyday, that was the platform. And now there's a mix. And so we, less than a year ago, we partnered with Red Giant to bring 7 or 8 of our most popular plugins that were for Final Cut 10 only to Adobe Premiere, After Effects, DaVinci Resolve, and Vegas, actually. So we for the last year, we have a multi-platform offering now. So we're not exclusively Final Cut 10 anymore, but it's what we're best known for.
So tell me about what some of your products are. Let's look first at the work you're doing for Final Cut 10, and then we'll look at specifically the stuff you're doing for Red Giant.
Sure. So one of our most popular plugins for Final Cut Pro 10 is called Split Screen, and it's just a simple and fast way of creating very nice...
Except the split screens don't just go vertical. You've got some great diagonal boxes and multiple images at the same time that are flying in all directions. It is a very quiet name for a very active effect.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I don't know if we exactly invented the diagonal split screen, but we were definitely the first one for Final Cut Pro 10, I think. But it's really, a lot of the time, editors don't have the time to do this creative matting and cropping and stuff that you need to do to create split screens. You just want something that will create a nice result quickly. That's
It's
been
the
popular.
definition of most editing, actually.
That's true.
Get it done yesterday.
Yeah, and if you don't have access to the motion graphics department, that you can, not a lot of folks have that luxury right now. So it's a simple plugin. It creates split screen effects quickly. It's been our best seller for years now, and it took us by surprise. Who knew that would have been such a thing?
Now, what are you doing with Red Giant? What's the news there?
So they have created a really interesting platform, which is a subscription service for plugins. So
Called the Universe.
Called Universe. And if you imagine kind of like Adobe's Creative Cloud, but for plugins, and it's $10 a month, which is it's just kind of a good deal given all the stuff that they've loaded into there, including we ported a bunch of our plugins that were exclusively Final Cut Pro 10, and we ported them to Red Giant Universe. And so now these work cross-platform. And
now, is Red Giant Universe an architecture that you're using, or simply a distribution platform?
It's both. So they've created a very cool development environment. It's super high tech, called Supernova, and a small number of developers have been invited into that program. And so we develop using Supernova. We've ported, for instance, split screen now. You can see split screen in Sony Vegas, which is something that we never could have conceived of. And it's great because Vegas users want plugins too, apparently. But so the wonderful thing for us is that we port it once to Universe. They magically work in, we can use our things in DaVinci Resolve, which is sort of like you don't know whether you're sleeping or awake. It's just, it kind of is this magic thing happens. And for us, that's great because all of a sudden we can offer these plugins that were exclusively for Final Cut Pro 10 editors. Now they're, anybody pretty much.
Is there enough of a market to sustain a business? I mean, the economy has been really rocky the last few years, and it's improving. Is it improving enough to make business worthwhile for you guys?
It is worthwhile. What we're seeing, though, is, I'm sure you know, there's trends change very quickly in the post industry right now.
You fall in and out of favor in a heartbeat.
You can, and then so do tools, and some of the biggest players aren't a sure bet, and then you have bizarre and wonderful things happening, like DaVinci Resolve. It decides it's going to be the best editing platform. Okay, and it's free. So that's very strange. And so, we thought Final Cut 10 was a surprise when that came out. And since then, it's just been nonstop, right? It's a very, you could say, dynamic landscape. So we are trying to, we realized that Final Cut Pro 10 is the best tool for editing quickly. We believe that. And but people are using who knows what, and who knows what they'll use in 2 weeks. It's impossible to predict, really. People use multiple tools. There's a mix of stuff going on. And so we want to be part of that mix, and the best way to do that is to kind of cover as many different platforms as possible. Then there's a lot of our Final Cut 10 users are also doing color in DaVinci. And so it's this strange situation where our $50 plugin for doing split screens now runs in DaVinci, which is an editor which is free. So who knows? And you know it better than anyone that it's to try to predict what will happen is kind of a fool's errand. But so we're trying to be everywhere at once and see that as the future.
And Gabe, where can people go on the web to learn more about you and your products?
They can go to www.crumplepop.com.
Now that's CrumplePop, CrumplePop, crumplepop.com. It's easy to spell, it's hard to say. And Gabe Cheifetz is the co-founder of CrumplePop. And Gabe, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Larry.